weapons transportation!
No more weapons transportation!
End the Zionist occupation!
End the Zionist occupation!
No more weapons transportation!
No more weapons transportation!
End the Zionist occupation!
End the Zionist occupation!
End the Zionist occupation!
End the Zionist occupation!
My name is Naz. I'm a member of the Palestinian Youth Movement. Today, on December 14th, we're here at New Jersey City Hall, and we've had a press conference and a rally with organizations like the Palestinian Youth Movement, with the Party for Socialism and Liberation, with PAL-Awda, Right of Return Coalition, and with a bunch of other community organizations based in Jersey, like the Palestinian American Cultural Center. And we hosted this press conference as a way to bring to people some insight into the research that our campaigns have been doing, into the role that logistics companies like Maersk Zim play in Israel's genocide, and to sort of build our knowledge as a community to understand what's happening in our backyards and what we can do about it. We see that our government and the ruling parties, whether Democratic or Republican, are steadfastly refusing to implement any sort of arms embargo against Israel as it commits its genocide. So we believe that we need to implement a people's arms embargo, to use institutions based in the power of people, of working class institutions in power, to put pressure on Israel to stop its genocide. And as part of that, today we gave a press conference talking about our campaigns against different logistics companies that are responsible for making sure that Israel has a consistent supply of military equipment and cargo. So we're targeting the logistics company Maersk and the Israeli shipping cargo company Zim, and we're here today to tell them that they need to end their contracts with the Israeli Ministry of Defense, cut all contracts that are supplying Israel with the materials it needs to carry out its genocide. And we're here today in Jersey to say that we refuse to let this happen in our backyards. And we know that, for example, that there is military cargo sitting at the Port of Elizabeth, New Jersey, every week, and we think that that's unacceptable, and that this can't happen in our backyards, and we believe that we need to invest in safe and sustainable communities, not in war and genocide. The great thing about targeting and having a campaign against these massive logistics companies is that they're everywhere. They're in Texas, they're in California, they're in New York, they're in New Jersey, they're in Spain, they're in Morocco. So wherever you are, there's some opportunity for you to get involved, to connect with unions and community-led organizations wherever you are, to get involved with these campaigns. For the Palestinian Youth Movement, our campaign is called Mask Off Maersk, so you can go to our website, Mask Off Maersk, to learn more about that. You can also check out PAL-Awda's campaign against Zim, also on their social media and websites. And yeah, so wherever you are, there's an opportunity for you to get involved. I think, it's been a grueling 14 months. We've seen that the situation in Gaza is absolutely apocalyptic. So it's very understandable for people to be feeling a lot of very, negative emotions right now. And we think that the solution to that is to build long-term and sustainable campaigns and organizations so that we can not just be marching out in the streets, but be doing the sort of nitty-gritty day-to-day work of organizing people, organizing workers, organizing petitions, campaigns, for a people's arms embargo. There's a lot of power that we have when we come together, and in moments like these, I think this is where we tend to find a lot of solace, is this idea that there are people that still care, that there are people that are still committed to ending this genocide and ending Israel's rampage across our entire region. As part of our research as the Palestinian Youth Movement, in early November, we released our first research report, which basically looked at 2,000 shipments of military cargo that had been shipped on Maersk vessels from weapons manufacturers based in the United States to the Israeli Ministry of Defense. We analyzed over 2,000 shipments, and all but 6 of those shipments transited through the Port of Elizabeth in New Jersey. So, we know that Maersk is sending armored personnel carriers, tank engines, armored plates, bomb bodies, bullet components, all of these materials without which, Israel would not be able to be continuing its genocide into this 14th month. It depends on the consistent and timely resupply of weaponry that comes from weapons manufacturers based in the United States. And that means that as people based in the United States, we have an opportunity and a responsibility to do whatever we can to bring an end to those weapons shipments and impose a people's arms embargo.
I'm going to call Amina from PAL-Awda, who has a long-term campaign, this organization against Zim, to get Zim out of the port of New Jersey, and they're going to share exciting updates about that campaign with us now.
Today in Jersey, there is a frenzy over mystery drone sightings. Jersey doesn't know what to make of it. Today in Gaza, there is a non-stop buzzing of Israeli drones, the Zanana, as Gaza has termed it. For Gaza, the scene is not a novelty, but a norm since its siege. Sleepless under skies that will soon signal the sound of death. Like clockwork, the Israeli occupation forces strike all those within the Gaza Strip and beyond. But the occupation cannot survive without the arms steadily supplied by the U.S. war machine. As a Palestinian General Federation of Trade Unions, patents to the free people and the greater global labor movement, we ask you to refuse to deal with military shipments to Israel through all military ships and logistics companies, especially Maersk and Zim. When Gaza calls, we must answer, and we must answer with a people's arms embargo now and an end to the U.S. war machine. At PAL-Awda, New York, New Jersey, and at Port Workers and Communities for Palestine, we target Zim, the largest and oldest Israeli shipping company, because we understand that striking back means weakening the ties to the Israeli economy responsible for the extermination campaign. Through our pickets and our phone zaps, we call upon the freight forwarding company, Always Forwarding, to demand the refusal of Zim shipments here in the Port of Elizabeth. While Gaza is being starved by the occupation, and while the occupation continues to attack aid workers, including truckers, Zim is shamelessly shipping agricultural produce from Egypt to Europe. And thanks to the major body of research uncovered by our Palestinian youth movement comrades organizing this Mask Off Maersk campaign, we have confirmation these Zim containers in the port here are being shipped to the Israelis' military of defense, also include newly discovered military equipment. Shame!
Shame!
Gaza demands our attention. We must commit to continuing to come out to Jersey, the scene of the war crime. When Gaza called previously, we answered with a historic feat. Thanks to the community organizations like the Arab Resource and Organizing Center and organized labor union efforts such as the International Longshore and Warehouse Union of the Block the Boat campaign, we successfully prevented Zim from ever docking and unloading any shipments again in Oakland. We know that the Workers United will never be defeated. Our campaign is proof that we have stopped the Zim shipments before and will do it again, and this time while tackling Maersk too. As Gaza reminds us in rejecting its captivity, we know that the hour of liberation and return is near. A return that replaces the awful sounds of buzzing with chirping and laughter.
I now will call up somebody who knows about organizing mass movements for liberation, Ali from the Party for Socialism and Liberation.
Money for jobs and education!
Money for jobs and education!
Not for war and occupation!
Not for war and occupation!
Thanks, y'all. I'd like to start off with a chant, as always. But, hi, everybody. I'm Ali. I'm with the Party for Socialism and Liberation, New Jersey. And it's an honor to be here in support of the Mask Off Maersk campaign. We stand in firm solidarity with the Palestinian people. And it is imperative that we, as people in the United States, the belly of the beast of U.S. imperialism, stand up with our communities against all forms of oppression, genocide, and endless war, all fueled by our tax dollars. Shame.
Shame!
Maersk is one of the most profitable companies in the entire world. And while they are making record profits, the genocide against the Palestinian people is escalating daily, all propagated by the weapons Maersk knowingly and willingly ships from here in the U.S., here in New Jersey specifically, to Israel. The U.S. government is responsible for providing nearly 70% of Israel's imported arms, including fighter jets, missiles, and thousands of devastating 2,000-pound bombs. And logistics companies like Maersk are the deliverers of the tools for genocide. Shame. Maersk is involved in every part of the process of U.S. weapon shipments, from bringing military cargo parts to arms companies for assembly to shipping the cargo from the U.S. to Israel. Maersk's profits are soaked in the blood of over 40,000 Palestinian martyrs, entire generations of families decimated, universities and hospitals completely destroyed. We demand that Maersk be held accountable for their direct complicity in genocide. Stop all weapons shipments to Israel now, arms embargo now. And it is particularly important that the people of New Jersey stand up for this struggle. This is all happening right now in our backyards. The majority of Maersk shipments go right out of Port Elizabeth. Maersk's corporate headquarters is located in New Jersey in Florham Park. And right here in Jersey City, Maersk has a brand new corporate innovation center, largely created for the purpose of accelerating the supply chain and effectively automating and eliminating jobs for workers. Shame.
Shame!
The people of New Jersey are united in standing up against Maersk and calling for the end of our taxes funding genocide abroad while our people suffer here. Over $400 million of tax money goes to Israel a year just from New Jersey taxes alone. Shame. It's insulting to be told by our government that there are no resources for affordable housing, quality education, and accessible health care, when really it is clear where their priorities are, and it's not with working class people. Working class people stand in solidarity with the Palestinian people, and together we'll continue to organize for the end of the genocide. Thank you.
Hello, everyone. I'm going to be reading a statement from the Palestinian American Community Center in New Jersey. They couldn't make it out today, but they sent their statement. The Palestinian American Community Center of New Jersey demands immediate action and accountability. We thank the NYC chapter of the Palestinian Youth Movement for leading today's mobilization and stand in unwavering solidarity with all of New Jersey and New York organizers standing here today, tirelessly advocating for justice in Palestine. Today, we echo a resounding call to Maersk. End your complicity now. Place an immediate and necessary arms embargo on Israel. Every day, shipments from ports like this one enable the machinery of death and destruction, fueling Israel's genocide in Gaza. This is our money, our resources, and our labor being weaponized against the Palestinian people. It is day 434 of an ongoing genocide in Gaza and escalated violence throughout Palestine. The death toll has surpassed 41,000 Palestinians by conservative numbers, with nearly 96,000 injured and countless still buried beneath rubble. As winter descends, tens of thousands of displaced Palestinians are enduring their second freezing season without proper shelter, bedding, or blankets. Blocked humanitarian aid has compounded the devastation, leaving basic survival out of reach. Israel's indiscriminate bombings continue to ravage Gaza and the West Bank, killing civilians, destroying neighborhoods, and obliterating essential infrastructure. None of this could continue without the unrelenting financial and military support of the United States. This genocide is a horrific reality made possible by American complicity, fueled by billions of taxpayer dollars. Yet the people are awake, and we are fighting back. We refuse to be complicit. We remain steadfast and unwavering in the struggle for a free and liberated Palestine. Change is already happening, through direct action, through the global commitment to BDS, and through collective resistance like what we are witnessing here today. Your presence here, your voice, and your action are part of this fight. Together we are saying no, and we will not stop. Maersk must answer the call. The world sees this genocide, and the truth is undeniable. Israel must be stopped, and we will not rest until it is. Enough is enough. It's time to cut ties with war crimes, massacres, and the displacement funded through these ports. We demand justice, and we demand it now.
We just heard from two leading organizations about their campaigns against Maersk and Zim, against these companies that are complicit in the genocide of the Palestinian people. And we heard from community organizations, from an organization that's organizing working class people in this state, an organization that's working with the Arab communities of this state, PSL and PAC, to learn about how our communities are taking a stand against these companies, taking a stand against genocide, and demanding an arms embargo. And if our government refuses to stop sending military funding to Israel, we know what we need to do. We need to continue organizing in these campaigns, and we need to create a people's arms embargo. If they're not going to do it, we're going to do it ourselves. To close off our press conference, we want to give some time for questions. We'll take 3 questions regarding the Maersk campaign and Zim campaigns. So if any journalists here have questions for additional information they'd like to learn, we'll open it up now.
What is the most effective course of action we can take as individuals to enact an arms embargo?
Yeah, it's a good question. For those who haven't signed on to the petition at maskoffmaersk.com, that's where mobilization updates are being sent. There's multiple fronts of pressure that can be exerted on a company like Maersk. The first is through outreach to truckers, dock workers in this state, pickets. This is one model of action that connects with the physical infrastructure, physical reality of Maersk operations. The second is through the labor movement. Several unions have passed motions and resolutions in support of the Maersk campaign. Specifically, there are the several unions that interface with this supply chain. So you have the railroad workers, the truckers, which is with the Teamsters in some cases, other times non-unionized, the International Longshoremen's Association, the ILA, ILWU out west. So if folks are part of a union, you can work within that union context to raise consciousness around the campaign, to help work to pass resolutions. There have also been direct mobilizations against the complicit parties. So in DC, we saw a group go to the CEO of Maersk Line Limited's house and flyer the property. We've seen across all the chapters in the United States where PYM is active. We've done letter deliveries to the Maersk offices about this. And of course, press and media, and putting pressure on Maersk narratively. This is a company that depends on its reputation, whitewashing its reputation. They claim to be an environmentally friendly shipping company, despite being one of the largest consumers of marine fuel in the world. They also endow several cultural institutions through their family foundation that holds the controlling share of Maersk, the company. And so if you're a culture worker, there's opportunities to put pressure on Maersk through a boycott lens when it comes to cultural institutions.
How do you feel about invoking Article 6 to remove the U.S. and the UN to hold this accountable?
Yeah, it sounds good. I don't know. Are there efforts to do that? Yeah, because of their support for the genocide. So I'll tell you. I mean, it's difficult. When Spain announced that they were blocking the Maersk ships from Algeciras, this caused a diplomatic crisis in this country. It was announced last week that the United States is opening an investigation into the Spanish government. The Federal Maritime Commission is threatening. The Federal Maritime Commission is threatening to sanction Spain for implementing its own law against the transfer of weapons through its ports. They're suggesting that they may fine Spain $2 million per vessel, and they might block Spanish vessels from docking in the United States. So this is what we're up against. As Maria mentioned, and as our comrades in PAL-Awda and PSL mentioned, this country is fully committed to the extermination campaign in Gaza, and that's why we need a model of people's action to enact an arms embargo.
What type of tactics are you guys using to do this research, both for Maersk and just in general for anybody that's trying to figure out the logistics and the shipping of all of these weapons manufacturers in general?
Yeah. Do any of the other folks also want to answer a question? So in terms of the research methodology, if this is your interest, there's a group there's many movement groups that are doing supply chain research that is contributing to this effort. So these are groups that you can join and get more involved in. There's popular committees that are doing research into the local context. That's how we actually found out about the warehouse here in Jersey. Literally through satellite imagery, you can see the armored vehicles in their parking lot here in Jersey before they go to the port. But yeah, there's lots of different data sources have been used, import-export data and shipping travel data. So if that's something you're interested in, there's some of the groups that are supported. There's Mapping Genocide is one that is that's really strong. Movement Research Unit. There's definitely ways to plug in if this is the type of stuff that you're interested in. And I believe, like from those who have been doing outreach to the workers at the port and stuff, there's also opportunities there for research to understand what are the most important areas that workers gather so that we can flyer and meet folks and talk to them about the campaign.
The port workers and communities for Palestine have been doing regular outreach at the port, and we also have a research chat that tries to back up, how we find the targets we're using. So we do have our own research chat as well. But you're welcome to try to get involved with that campaign as well. We're having regular pickets at Always Forwarding, almost on a bi-weekly basis in the town of Elizabeth. And also we're doing regular outreach at the port, primarily to port truckers. And you can find us at Port Workers for Palestine on Instagram.
Now, there's so many organizations that we can get involved with. It doesn't matter what sector you work in. It doesn't matter where you live. I guarantee you that you'll find an organization doing work, organizing people, doing outreach to people, and getting the word out, making a people's arms embargo possible. And we're going to hear from another organization that's been working really closely with port workers, and we're really excited to hear what they've been up to. I'm really excited to introduce a comrade from Port Workers and Communities for Palestine.
Here talking on behalf of Port Workers and Community for Palestine. We've actually been leading the campaign against Zim at the port of Elizabeth. So we're a coalition of workers from New Jersey and New York organizing to boycott Zim out of the port of Elizabeth. And so Zim is the Zionist entity's largest and oldest shipping company. They were instrumental in sending the supplies to support the first occupation during the Nakba. And they have continued to say, and the CEO has continued to say, that they will continue to support the genocide and continue to ship to the occupation. And truck drivers from the Port of Elizabeth, who we've become allies with, have sent us many photos of military vehicles being sent to Israel on Zim flatbeds, just right out at our port. So for us, we have two parts of our strategy. The first one, obviously, is to pressure Always Forwarding to drop Zim. It's a local freight forwarding company, and we're telling them to drop Zim as a contractor. And our second part of our strategy is to build power and capacity with port workers so that they can also take action against Zim at the port. Because obviously we know that workers are the actual people who are moving the weapons. They have the actual power. So we're also working on a toolkit currently so that we can spread this campaign, across the country at different ports. Like my comrade Amna said, this has already been done in Oakland. So, the East Coast is a little bit more challenging, but, that's kind of what we're working on right now. So some more background, a little bit more in depth into it. Always Forwarding is the middleman, essentially the middleman in shipping. So when a Zim shipment comes in or it's going out, they try to dispatch and find truck drivers to actually move the shipments to and from the port. So for several months, we have been picketing it always, along with doing phone zaps regularly. And we choose days where we know that a Zim shipment is coming in. So we're trying to clog up their phone lines while they're trying to do the logistics and dispatch trucks. And then Always has been sitting for interviews. They actually sat for an interview recently where they slandered us as anti-Semitic and all this other shit. So we know that our pressure is starting to work already. They're already starting to get annoyed. The vice president has come outside and tried to talk to us. So we're going to continue that pressure until they drop Zim. And then so our second part of our strategy is we are committed to building relationships with the port workers at the Port of Elizabeth. So this includes longshoremen and truck drivers, so that they are empowered to take a stance for Palestine. Over the past year, we've been doing outreach and to have like one-on-one conversations with port workers at the port. We go there every single week. And, I think we've definitely made a lot of progress. We built a lot of really great allies. Like, of course, like the people who are sending us photos of the tanks and the military vehicles. There's still like an incredible amount of work to do. The longshoremen, who are the people who move the shipments off the boats, they're incredibly conservative. They actually are very proud to move weapons. So, yeah, it is. It's really bad. But, we can't expect them to just go on their own and stop moving these shipments. Truck drivers, who we've also talked with a lot, they're much more pro-Palestinian liberation. They're actually, they're very committed to that. They're just not really organized. They're not organized in any union, so it's really difficult for them to take collective action. But despite this, we do feel very confident that we can stop Zim and then also stop Maersk. But it does require a lot of work. It really requires us to be on the ground, talking with these workers, having conversations about Palestine, relating this cause to their daily struggles and things that they really care about, because they got a lot of shit going on too, and we're asking to take on this really big risk for their job. So it's really important that we go and we can communicate this to them so that they can understand it. So that's what we've been doing. We've been working on doing these outreach days, and honestly, the more people that we have committed to doing these outreach days, so we can go more than once a week. We can go every single day, talk to dozens of truck drivers, longshoremen, boarding agents every single day. The much quicker we can, stop Zim, stop Maersk from leaving from our port, because that's a very imperative thing that we're having these conversations. So if you're interested in getting involved, speaking with port workers, come reach out to us afterwards. We've built a whole infrastructure for this, and no matter your experience, we'd be really happy to teach you how to have these conversations. So if you want to follow us online, we're on Instagram at portworkers4, the number 4, Palestine. Anything else?
It was so wonderful to hear from an organization doing work on the ground with port workers, to hear from organizations that are organizing Arab youth, working with all of our people across all of our communities to free Palestine. And there's another organization here today that's been a resource, a space for the whole movement to come together, to be able to plan things like this action at volunteer meetings every single Monday at 6:30. We come together, we make a plan, we get organized, we get to know each other, and we figure out how to build in our communities. And we do this at the People's Forum right across the river in Manhattan. So it's my pleasure here today to introduce our next speaker, Taji from the People's Forum.
Over 80,000 dead.
Over 80,000 dead.
Maersk, your hands are red.
Maersk, your hands are red.
Comrades, brothers and sisters, salute to all of you for traveling out here to New Jersey today in the cold to send a clear message to Maersk. We know that the U.S. pays for the weapons for the Israeli government, but it is Maersk that enables the logistics to send over 2,100 shipments of weapons right here from New Jersey. They're sending weapons for artillery, for tanks, for planes, aircrafts, all of this for genocide. It's logistics companies like Maersk that make it possible to move weapons all around the world, transporting terror, facilitating the flow of weapons that have been used to kill men, women, children in Palestine. Those same weapons have been used to destroy the infrastructure in Gaza, like the hospitals, the schools, the roads, sewage and water, and so much more. And nearly all of the 2,100 shipments that have been shipped to the Israeli government have left from the port here in Elizabeth, New Jersey. But do the people of New Jersey know that billions of dollars of weapons for war are being shipped while they're struggling to meet the rising cost of housing, the rising cost of healthcare, the rising cost of food. And it's ridiculous that while these companies continue to make billions of dollars of profit off of war and destruction, that nearly 15% of the people that live in Elizabeth are living in poverty. Nearly 24% of the people that live in Patterson are living in poverty. Shame. And so many more people are living paycheck to paycheck, struggling every day, but there's money for war and weapons. But the mask is off, Maersk. We see you for who you are. Maersk, you are the web that connects imperialist aggression. The imperialist aggression against the people in Palestine and the imperialist aggression against people all across the world. But all of you that are here today, you're here to say something else. You're here to help us, remind and everybody what those demands are. And the first demand for Maersk is to end all shipments of weapons and weapons parts to the Israeli government, and to cut all ties and to cut all contracts that fuel the genocide in Gaza. And we're going to continue to stand in solidarity with the Palestinian people in their steadfast right for self-determination. And so before I leave today, I want to make sure that this message is very clear. No to war and occupation.
No to war and occupation.
Money for health and education.
Money for health and education.
Stop all weapons transportation.
Stop all weapons transportation.
End the Zionist occupation.
End the Zionist occupation.
End the Zionist occupation.
End the Zionist occupation.
Thank you.
Today, we came here to demand an arms embargo. To demand an arms embargo on all arms being sent to the slaughter of our people in Gaza, in Lebanon, and all over the region. We heard from organizations leading this fight every single day in New Jersey, New York, and the general tri-state area. This is of crucial importance. This is of crucial importance. These weapons and these systems are beginning in our backyards here. We cannot feel powerless. We know that there is a role for us to do here, to continue getting organized, to join with these organizations leading this fight, to be in the streets every day, bringing people, more and more people, into a mass movement for a free Palestine from the river to the sea. We are here at a crucial moment, more than 14 months on this genocide with grave challenges ahead. I won't make light of this, but we are up to the task. We are up to this task. We will not allow for intimidation. We will not allow for fear-mongering. We will not allow for any force to try to separate us from Gaza, from Palestine, from our people all over the world. When Trump comes on January 20th, we will continue organizing as we have been for the last year under Biden, and as we will continue to be for the next 4 years if it takes that, for the next 8 years if it takes that, for the next 12, 16 years if it takes that. Companies like Maersk and Zim, they may operate in these ports, but the people say they are not welcome in New Jersey. They are not welcome anywhere we are. We must continue fighting Maersk. If you get a chance, please stop by the table. You can sign the petition against Maersk, more than 10,000 strong now. We must continue being at the People's Forum meetings every 6:30, every Monday at 6:30, organizing in Jersey, in Brooklyn, in the Bronx, in Queens, in Staten Island, everywhere we are. And we must be ready for January 20th. We must be ready for January 20th. They are relying on an idea that we won't stay unified, that we'll cannibalize each other, that we'll go into sort of secondary fights, that we can get scared away. This will never happen. This will never, ever, ever, ever happen. As long as every one of us continues every day expanding the movement into their workplace, into their community, into their families, and onward.
All right, we came together today. The people of New York and New Jersey. We made it clear to Jersey City and to the world, because of this press conference, that the people of this community reject the arms trade that's happening right through our ports. We showed that as soon as we learned of this deadly trade that's happening every week, ships and airplanes of military cargo and weapons killing our people in Gaza, as soon as we learned about this, we decided to take a stand. And we've been coming together ever since to demand an arms embargo and to demand that those companies that are involved in the genocide of the Palestinian people cut their contracts now, to demand that they end their complicity now. And enacting a people's arms embargo is not the only work that we're doing. We come together all the time to organize the people around us, to talk to the people around us, to bring them into organizations and into the movement. Because the road ahead is a long one. What's coming up ahead of us is the Trump inauguration. And we're not going to stand back, we're not going to sit at home and let that happen without making some noise and making a scene. There's only one place that I think we should all be when the inauguration happens, and that's in the streets. So on January 20th, we're proud to be having a massive demonstration at Washington Square Park in New York City, right across the river from here. And in the meantime, we have a lot of work ahead of us. We got to get prepared and we got to get organized. So I want to announce one more thing before we close out here, and that's this incredible space that we've built, that this movement has created, which is the Monday volunteer meetings.
Yeah.
All of these materials that you see here were created out of those meetings. All of the skills that we've built up together to make mobilizations like this one possible have come out of those volunteer meetings. So if you have friends who are asking you, I don't know what to do, I don't know where to go, you should tell them to come to the Monday volunteer meetings. 6:30 at the People's Forum. It's centrally located for New York and New Jersey, and we're going to be there every week for as long as we need to until we meet our demands. So I want to thank you all for coming here today, for standing in the cold with us. It's a lot less cold when we're standing together, and I'm going to see you all very soon.
No more weapons transportation!
No more weapons transportation!